Okay, so I've turned the printer around just so I can get to it. I'm going to take the power supply apart first, which is, as I say, this is the mod I put on a few about 6 months ago. No, a bit more than that actually. This was a fairly early mod I think I did to it. Just going to keep all the bits in here so I don't lose them on. And there's just clamps on with the little rubber lugs on. This was to quieten it all down, and it was very successful actually. It made a lot of difference to the whole printer. This is this was off Thingiverse. I do have the link somewhere of that. I'll see if I can dig it out. It's a while since I printed that, so I'm not quite sure what I've done with the link. It's a bit fiddly to mount, but once it's in, it was worth it, because the old fan was quite a cheap old fan and made just a hugely annoying noise the whole time basically. So just make sure you can see that. I think you can see that, yeah. I put mounted a fused IC connector in there and just crimped it on. So those, if I uncrimp these, actually, it's probably the simplest way we can get rid of this. All right, just get that through there. So that was the 3D print. Which worked fine actually, which worked really well. There's a little notch for the cable, for that cable to go through. This was the fan. I had a slightly mod this, I think, if I remember. This is a PWM fan, but I'm just using the, it's just permanently on, it's not on any control or anything. That comes off, so that will probably end up with one of my computers. These are really nice. If you haven't used Noctua, they're fantastic. They're totally silent. You just cannot hear them. They're really good. So inside, you can see in there, inside there is the power supply for the unit. So this unit comes apart either with one of these. Needless to say, don't do this if you don't know anything about electricity. I'm not recommending this to anyone who hasn't worked with mains before, because you'll electrocute yourself. So do be careful. This is not a recommendation to do to anyone who hasn't done modification to electrical equipment. That is the power supply. Just to show you how I'd modded it. All I did to drive the fan unit was use some existing computer cables I had. I think I soldered those together just to get the type of connector I needed on the fan, and I've just strapped it across common and plus volts, which I think this is 12 volts. Yeah, this is 12 volt power supply. There's a direct 12 volt cable here, which we will trace back in a minute and find out where that goes. That probably goes to The heater maybe. We will find out. So that was straight off the 12 volts anyway. So we've then got the main. That's the 3 incoming. So that's power in. This is the main 12 volt to the motherboard inside there. So that's probably a fan or something in there. We'll have a look in a second. So let's just disconnect this, then we can lose this. So I'm just going to that. Right, so that is the power supply, which I'm going to reuse because you know, I'm assuming that is fine. I don't think it was a power supply issue I was having. I think it was a motherboard issue. Right, motherboard. If you haven't seen inside one of these, that's what's going on. That's the Meltzy board. So that is the replacement. That's a Meltzy. Let's see what model that was. If it was a like for like. That says, what does it say? That is a Meltzy Ardentissimo, Meltzy Hybrid A4980. So that's not the same as my original one, which was that one. That's other than the replacement, there's a Meltzy A4980 and A4988, and this is an A4988. So no, they do appear to be the same. They just call that a hybrid for some reason. I'm not quite sure what that means. Right, inside here you can see we've got the various cables going in. I'm going to label these up. I mean, we're going to be able to trace them back to their various motors, but I am going to label them as I disconnect it, just so if there's any doubt later on, I know where I am. Just snip some of these turrets out and unwrap some of this cable wrap. So we're going to go across. The first one, which is obvious, is the LCD. So I'm just going to disconnect that one, which is off the front there. So that'll just make life a little bit easier. So we can just tuck that in there.